Hello again. I was pretty puzzled yesterday when I saw a BBC headline which announced that the statue of a black heroine had been unveiled. It turns out that she was the headmistress of a school. I give a link to the headline in the description to this video. It reads, Betty Campbell, Welsh black heroine statue unveiled. Now this is very odd, and we can see how strange it is if we remove the word black from the headline. If we read Welsh heroine statue unveiled, and then we learnt that the subject of the statue was a headmistress, we would ask ourselves what this woman had done, which was heroic. Had she rescued a load of her pupils from a fire, perhaps? Maybe she had saved somebody's life at risk to her own. If we then found out she hadn't done anything in the least heroic, other than to have trained as a teacher and then become a headmistress, we might reasonably ask why she was being described as a heroine. After all, most of us do something for a living, whether it's teaching children, driving a bus, working in a supermarket, or writing pulp westerns. Having a job in itself does not constitute an act of heroism. This woman had been paid for doing what she did. It was her career. In this case, the heroism simply seems to have been being black. That was heroic enough in itself without actually having to do anything more. I've known a few headmistresses, black and white, and they did important jobs to be sure, but I wouldn't really have described any of them as heroines. Had this been a statue to a white headmistress, I strongly suspect that people would be laughing at the whole thing and denouncing it quite rightly as nonsense. However, that one little word black alters the case entirely. Nobody dare laugh when they spot this word anywhere, lest they be accused of racism. Even when something is as mad as this, and everybody can see how loopy it is, by simply writing black heroine statue unveiled, the laughter dies in our throats and we know that we have to put a solemn and non-racist look on our faces. Using that word black in any context at all these days guarantees that the normal rules will be suspended and that people can easily be cowed into submission. It's almost as though blackness is some kind of superpower which protects people from being treated like everybody else. As I'm sure we know, black actors are included in every television series today, even those set in the 18th or 19th century. The latest example of this is in the remake of Darling Buds of May, which has turned Charlie the Tax Inspector into a black guy in 1950s Kent. H.E. Bates must be turning in his grave. What I have noticed is that many of these actors are not very good at acting. They have been included only for the colour of their skin. They are, though, invulnerable for this very reason. I have seen some truly awful acting by black people who have obviously been inserted into a drama just to give it a multicultural feel. Never, though, have I seen anybody remark upon this. Their very blackness protects them from being savaged for their lousy acting. It must be awful to be a talented and intelligent black person these days, somebody who's able to achieve well and get by on their own merits. Everybody will assume they're just another diversity hire. I feel I should make a separate video about the middle-class white obsession with blackness, which is actually offensive and entails a fetishisation of colour, for it is this which is driving much of what we see in these days on our televisions and in our newspapers. I fear, though, that it would be a waste of time to fight against part of the zeitgeist which has not yet reached its peak. It would only get me disliked.